kitchen chaos to well-oiled machines. Get ready for newfangled technology and old-school know-how. Stories and a good bit of fun. I'm Simon, and this is Culinary Mechanic.
All right.
Joining me today on Culinary Mechanic is Michael Beck, the CEO of Ink Tank GTM. That's a lot of stuff,
That is a
man.
lot to say. I regret my decision naming it that every day. No, I don't. Just kidding.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Simon. What's going on? What's good?
Just celebrating another Friday, made it through another week, man.
Okay.
Um, Super stoked to have you on. You and I kind of danced around on some times, and I think we first got connected through the Digital Hospitality Rising Tide with Sean
Whoa,
Walchef.
whoa, rising tides. Got called
Yup,
out.
gotta lift those ships, man.
That's right. That's right.
Um, I am all for just getting down to it. So, why don't you tell me how you came across or came in contact with the hospitality industry? Because it is Culinary Mechanic after all.
Yeah, that goes a long way. I don't know how far on the Wayback Machine we want to go. My dad had restaurants the entire time I was growing up. We had a place in Long Beach, California called the Beck Inn. We lived like at Bob's Burgers above. We lived above the restaurant. We go down there and work during the day. The kids literally. And then we had another place called the 49er Tavern across from Long Beach State, which is still there. We have another place called the Honey Bucket that was off of 4th and Redondo. My uncle had restaurants, Trio on the Shore, and another place in Santa Monica called Harvell's. And then another place out in Palm Springs called the Reno Room. And so that was just kind of the kind of restaurant side. But, we're a European family. Like a lot of European families, that all the best conversations happen where? In the kitchen,
In the
around the dinner
kitchen,
table.
brother.
It's all about food. Yeah. And so I've
Yeah.
always had an affinity. And my grandparents took me under the wing when it came to cooking. So I have a lot of background in German cooking and some French cuisine and stuff like that, and just stuff I enjoyed. And then I joined the army, and I did my tour 89 to 93, Gulf War, all that stuff, and then I went there to get my Army college fund, and to get some money for college and save up for my own college. And when I got back, my mom saw that I was dating all these girls, and the common theme was I was cooking for all of them. She goes, "Sure, you sure like to cook a lot." And I knew that because if I cook for them, usually something good would happen. And so and
Yeah.
so she innocently goes, "You sure cook a lot. Why'd you go to culinary school?" I'm like, that's not a bad idea. And so I ended up in culinary school. And then strangely enough, after culinary school, I did a little bit of internship on some private yachts and stuff and enjoyed, living out in the Med. And then I just stopped cooking for a while and actually went into sales. And it's just sometimes you just derail. And so I worked out for LA Fitness for a while. And then we had a flagship club that I was running. It had a restaurant in it, right?
Okay.
And well, actually, I forgot. After the military, I went to culinary school and this stuff. Anyways, but so we're at the flagship club and the restaurant in it, and every morning I'd come in, I'd have this horrible breakfast. And finally, I had the nerve to ask the owner of the restaurant in the club, "Hey, do you mind if I just go back and cook my own food?" And he's like, "You're not touching my kitchen." I go, I know how to cook." He's all, "BS, make the mother sauces for me." So I went back, I made a bechamel, a meat sauce, and just went to, went to town, made the other ones. And oh, you can cook in my kitchen now. So I come in every morning, I cook. It turned out he had a catering company, right?
Okay.
And so I started working with him, and he had the Century City Bar Association as one of their clients for installation dinners and stuff like that for the lawyers. And then because Century City is the hub for all entertainment law, their clients were Creative Artists Association, which is, Brian Lord, and every single A-list celebrity in Hollywood is essentially either related to or under that umbrella. And so we ended up working for Brian for CAA. And so we do the Oscar parties for him and a lot of big after events and like anybody you could name, really freaking cool stuff. Right. And so that was kind of my food side of the world. Right. And then I opened another catering company after that point, and then I started working in hospitality technology. Because that kind of went from being a chef to a entrepreneur and on the catering side. And then I moved on. I go, well, I don't want to get up so early anymore. Um, and I don't mind working late, but I've never been an early riser. I hate to say it against, the habits of highly successful people. I'm missing that one. But hopefully my late nights make up for it. But yeah, that's just kind of how I ended up going through the food world. And then the tech world is just, I came to a company called Altimetrics about 15 years ago and answered a job on monster.com that said, do you like technology? Are you into food? I started there for, I think it was 30 grand a year. And
Wow.
it was my proudest thing in my life being certified in back office and being in technology, and it all launched from there. And so, I was very fortunate in my career early. I brought on Taco Bell as a global client for that client customer, my employer, sorry. Denny's was a client of mine for them. And then I moved to other places, and I've had a lot of really successful endeavors with the various businesses I've served. And so in the last couple of years, I said, well, I just want to kind of take these skills and teach other businesses to do that as opposed to make money for an employer. I'm going to stand up my own
Right.
house and help people. And so I help companies now.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Long twisted
Uh,
road, right? You never know where you'll end
no,
up.
what I think I think that is what, well, for me, that's what life should be, right?
Yeah.
Like you learn a skill, you turn around and you help the person next to you or the person behind you with
Yeah.
that skill. You move on, you go, oh, okay, I'm gonna do a thing, right? Like for me in the kitchen, like that's what it is, right? You
Yeah.
learn how to make the mother sauces. The new kid comes in and you go, hey man, you're about to fucking break the hollandaise, yo.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I
You
mean,
know,
if you're talking French cuisine, you're actually going to escoffier. You go poulanger, casserole. So first I'm washing dishes, and then I'm washing pots. So I graduate pots, and then I'm a poissonnier, saucier, so I can make fish and I can make sauces. Like you're graduating up the ladder of the
yep.
progression because you learn every stop. I love
So now
that
you're
too.
just on a different ladder, and I kind of dig
Yeah,
that in the, sort of the same fashion.
yeah, it's fun.
All right,
Uh,
so we got in the Wayback Machine. We said all the way back. Let's just kind of slide back forward and say you got all these things. You're helping these companies. How
yeah,
does all that tech? How does all that stuff? What like I know that you deal with some restaurant tech, some food tech.
yep,
How
yep.
does all of that like meet Ink Tank GTM?
Yeah, yeah. So my background as a chef, or like you, right? What are the things we deal with when we're working in the kitchen? We're actually the misconception it seems on the outside world that all that chefs do is cook, and that's not what we do. We plan menus, we budget, we do a lot of other things. Cooking is part of it, but it's more menu design, what's going to cost, how we build it out, and make these wonderful things happen.
Don't
Make
forget
sure we put our
therapy.
fishing tip on. Well, yes, and a lot, and no sleep.
No
Um,
sleep.
so, but in that are all the things that the tech companies out there are trying to solve for restaurants, right? So I have to write a labor schedule. Well, that takes me a lot of time as a chef. I'm not doing the rest of the stuff. Well, sure, it'd be kind of cool if a piece of software could come around and look at what my sales are per man hour and by my various
Right.
revenue centers, understanding if I need to schedule by P mix or by guest count or differently for each. So now
Right.
I have this thing that thinks about it for me. Now I can go back to something that this was sucking up my time, right? Or I'm worried about loss prevention. And so I have a system that watches when food comes in or out. Or how about my inventory variances, right? So when I sell product, I make a burger. That burger is pickles, lettuce, buns, sesame seeds on it. Well, you don't count the sesame seeds, I think, but right. But you're counting all the high value proteins on there, that cheese,
Totally.
right? And that recipe says I have certain things that go into it. And all things being equal, if I don't lose it, waste it, or nobody stole it, whatever I put in will come out the other side and I can account for it. And anything not that's not there is called a variance, right? And so
Right.
that variance helps me understand either if I'm portioning too much or my employees hate to say it's stealing from me, or maybe they're just taking unauthorized meals, but that's still a form of theft, or they're wasting it and we're not tracking and understanding where the waste goes. So those systems also say, hey, here's where you need to look. And then, like for example, stuff I'm really excited about. We have my partner and I agreed that we're going to work on uh, technologies that are emerging that are different and disruptive, and most of that's centered around obviously AI, right? But there's other pieces that like XR, which is inclusive of augmented reality, virtual reality, and things that overlay on our world to tell us stuff, right? So we have a client, for example, Nomad Go, and Nomad Go is both. They have a phone-based solution or a tablet solution because modern devices have lidars in them. LiDAR measures depth. It's the same thing that satellite does over the planet and says, hey, there's lost civilizations there. And we see 20 buildings, right?
Right.
Depth and stuff. So what they do is they point this at a shelf. It counts the entire shelf in one go. I'm done inventory.
Oh
It
my
knows
God.
it knows what's in the front. It knows what's in the back. It knows what's behind it because it knows the shapes of the boxes, the volume those boxes occupy, and calculates what everything behind it would mean from an inventory level. So now instead of being stuck in a walk-in for 30 minutes freezing, I'm out of there in 5,
Nice.
right? Right? No shelf to sheet. I don't have to worry about where I store it. I can point at a box and tell me how many ketchup packets are in it without even counting a packet, right?
Disruptive technology. I
Yeah,
dig it.
and at the end of it, all of it should have one result. Does it do the following thing? Does it give me back time?
Okay. I don't know about you, but I did not get into the restaurant business to spend all my time in a cramped little office. I love being in the kitchen, out on the floor. And if you're nodding your head right now, I want to introduce you to an amazing company called Starfish. Look, I've gotten to know their CEO, Jordan, recently, and what they're building really impresses me. They're using AI to read your P&L, and they're going to email you actionable insights every week so you can lower your costs and increase revenue. Best part is you don't have to spend time digging through your P&Ls, poring over reports in that cramped little office. Starfish is going to do that for you so you can get back to the part of the business that you love. If you're interested, go to their website, use starfish.com. That's USE starfish.com. And tell them Simon sent you.
Otherwise, there's no other. I mean, that's the only, to me, there's only like, I keep hearing, oh, there's ROI and this and that. But the reality is there's only one commodity, I would argue, period, time, right?
Yeah,
Money is a
yeah,
representation of time. The money represents the money. It took that guy, whoever in the world, to dig that gold out of the ground and haul it back, and the truck driver to drive it here. It's somebody's time. All the stuff we're paying for is people's time. And the money in our bank is just a bank of other people's time,
wow,
right? If you think about it
yeah,
that way. So if we can give restaurants back time, it is the only commodity. So when you go home to your family at 5, that's the biggest gift, right? And if you
yeah,
made just as much money, if not more in that time, oh my God, right? And so, yeah, if we can help restaurants get time back, that's the single most exciting thing I can do for businesses. And so we look for companies that do that. We look for technologies that give back time. Even like we have an accounting platform called GM Pilot, and you might have a labor system in place that does a good job. But what GM Pilot does is it pours through all that and looks for all the unauthorized shifts that have been taken, meaning overtime that wasn't approved, or early clock ins, or buddy
yeah,
punches. It finds tens of thousands of dollars even in an optimized schedule because
right.
no human being wants to sit there and pick through every hour. Right? It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
It's funny. You mentioned something that whole like picking through the schedule. I mean,
That's a
three
fresh
days
hell.
ago,
Yes.
I just sat down with a chef and a sous chef in a restaurant that I talked to, and the owner says, "Hey man, they're writing really good schedules, but we're still bleeding a little bit too much."
Yeah.
And in this world that we're in right now, wages have never been higher, right? Like
Yep.
we're on the cusp of $20 an hour as a minimum wage,
Yeah.
right? And
Commodity
so
prices are right there too.
they're freaking out, and
Yeah.
and I said, "Okay, guys, we last year we put in some steps to really like get down waste because they were
Mm-hmm.
they were just going a little fast and loose."
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, "Do you remember when we put in steps to cut waste?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, what did we do?" And they're like, "We checked and we double checked and we triple checked." And I was like, "Sweet." So I need you to go upstairs to the office and say, "Give me the report," because you don't know, you say you don't want to learn how to run the reports. Cool. Go get the report,
Right.
have it, and then figure it out, because these guys are saying, the owners are now telling me that your your schedule looks good, but
Right.
it's still bleeding them money. So fix it. Otherwise, they're going to find somebody else who will. And it's amazing to me that like
Yeah.
to find that piece. And now this is a small pizzeria. They're probably under 2 million, you
Right.
know,
Right.
but they're jamming for their size.
Yeah.
And I got a call from the owner a week after that conversation. He's like, "Thank you." He goes, "I've been trying to get that message to them for a couple weeks, and somehow when you, the chef, the old retired chef, says, uh, this is what needs to happen, they just it changes them." And I was like, "Hey man, that's what I'm
Yeah.
here for. That's why
Yeah.
you pay me to come talk to your people."
That's
Um,
right.
right? Because somehow I speak a different language, whatever. But I think that I think that it's great that there's tech pieces to be able to do that because I've also worked in spaces where there's 7 restaurants and you just can't do it. Like you need
Yeah.
to be faster and more efficient.
It was like they're like forecasting isn't just for revenue. You can forecast and have that actually populate a food order.
Totally.
Right? Like how many times you just gone, well, I need this, and I'm just gonna order a par. And then all of a sudden now you got too much product because you ordered a par. Now you got a lot of waste and you got
Yeah.
spoilage. There's too much on the shelves and theft because people doesn't think that you're gonna miss another case or a steak, right? All those
Yeah.
little things and a million things done right will make a restaurant extremely successful, and all those million things done wrong will kill it.
Yeah. I think this is the moment where we shout out to Matt Wampler and Clear Cogs, man.
You go, Wops! Whoop whoop!
I freaking love that guy.
Yeah, he's got fantastic energy. He's definitely somebody who sets a pace. I'm a big fan of Matt's too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When I had him on the show, man, we just chuckled for about 40 minutes. We just laughed and talked through stuff. I mean,
yeah,
he's like, I'm not a chef. You're a real chef. You're real. I'm like, I don't know, man. Food is food. Business is business. It's all good. It's all
that's
good.
why.
Um, so tell me, like, from your perspective, tell me like what's the thing that you just wish that restaurants,
Hmm.
tech companies, like you either wish they weren't doing or were doing better. Like
I
what
wish they
would
were
you
giving
love
their
to see
people.
improve?
I wish they were giving their people a path. Um, well, it's too. I think I think it's connected. I think they should do a solid job of onboarding their employees, meaning getting
Okay.
them adequately trained, giving them the information they need, letting them know the resources they have, letting them know it's okay to ask more questions, right? And also qualifying them before you let them loose. Make sure they're adequately trained and every question they have, to the most part, that allows them to do their job has been answered or they have a direction to it. If there's a piece of software that they need to do for their job, they should be adequately trained in that piece of software. All too often, people go company to company, assuming that everybody knows the system that's in place, and then now you have a bunch of people walking around going, "I freaking hate this thing," because nobody taught them how to use it, right?
Yeah.
Or how many
Yeah.
times you've been in a restaurant where you had something that somebody gave you going, yeah, use this. And like, I'm going back to Excel,
Uh-huh.
right? Because you don't trust it, don't know how to use it. We weren't given it, right? And so that's one. I think onboarding is universal for all jobs. That if you do a solid job of bringing somebody in, it does a couple of things. One, equips them to do the job you hired them to do, but it sends them a really strong message. I care about you. I care about your
Yeah.
success. I care about the standards we maintain. I have communicated effectively to you what those standards are that you will maintain, and I have qualified you to do that job. All those things happen, right? And part of the onboarding process should be also, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go, Simon? What do you want to do with your life and your career at this point, right? How can we help you get there? This might not be your last stop, but this will be something that we can contribute to your next stop, whenever that may be. So, how do we get you better? Is it management skills? Is it this? Or do you want to work and be in here? And do you want to be a future leader or owner of a franchise? How do we get you there? What are the things you need? Nothing will make people more loyal than a company that cares about their future,
Right.
right? Like sincerely cares about it. Doesn't have to be a big investment, but boy, it just takes a minute. That's like when somebody walks through the office and or you're having an employee that's having a hard time. And instead of opening up the data sheet and going, you missed, you missed, you missed, you missed, you're really making that person's life hell, and you might as well just cut them now, right? The first thing
Yeah.
you should say is what? How
Thank you.
you, how are you? How are
How
you
are
doing?
you?
Are
For
you
sure.
okay? Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like different subject, but similar theme. I don't know if you remember a couple months ago when they had the CrowdStrike outage that affected Microsoft. Everything was down for a while.
Totally.
I was flying to Seattle to meet with my client No Go, and it was having the morning kickoff. I was planned to be there at 9 o'clock. My fault. I should have flown the night before. But I get to the airport. It's like 6 o'clock. I go to the gate. It's my plane's boarding at 7. And as I board the plane, the person says to me, "Mr. Beck, you're no longer in seat D13. You're now in D8." Oh, okay. So I go in. I get to D8, and there's 3 people waiting for my seat. Um, get a flight attendant and they look at my ticket and they go, "Oh, well, you need to go to your seat. It's C13." Okay. So I go to my seat and I sit there and people continue to board the plane. And the next thing I know, the doors are about to close and a guy comes in, walks right up to me and says, "You're in my seat." No, I'm not. I'm in, here's my my boarding pass. And within a few minutes, the flight attendant just decided not to work with me and just said, "Hey, you need to get off the plane." Unceremoniously, you need to get
Wow.
off the plane. You need to get your bags and get off right now. And before I said the next thing, the words they said to me were, "Mr. Beck, you look like you're about to get upset. You look like you're about to get upset. Should we call the police?" I haven't even
Wow.
got upset yet. Right. So now, so now I, so now I go, okay, I'm either going to be in a Karen video, which I'm really about to produce for them and with very strong vigor, or I get a little emotional intelligence and say, okay, I'm gonna exit the plane. I'll figure this out later. So I get up, I get my bags, and I walk off the plane. And so, a little while later, I walk up the gangway because they finally said, "You're not getting back on the plane." I'm sitting there, and the lady that treated me that way is sitting at the podium across from me. It's like an hour. She's not talking to me. I still haven't heard anything. And finally, I got up and I walk over to her and I said, "Hey," and she was like reaching for the phone. The police had already been there, and the guy's like, "I'm not sure why I'm here. I'm going to go now." Right? Like
Right.
literally. And so I go, "Hey, listen, I'm not sure what's going on. Are you okay?" "What?" "Well, on the plane, you went right to an escalation pathway. You should have said something like, 'Hey, Mr. Beck, really sorry that you're not going to make your flight today. But the good news is we're going to find a way to get you there. We're sorry for whatever inconvenience has caused you, but if you can help us here, we'll make sure you're going to get where you're going to go.'" I said, "None of that happened. You rolled me up. You made me feel like a criminal. You got me off the plane. You treated me terribly. I'm not sure. Are you okay?" And she started crying.
Wow.
I go, She goes, "This thing with Microsoft, the CrowdStrike thing, people have been treating like dirt for the last 24 hours. And that's just what we've defaulted to. I am so sorry, Mr. Beck. I am so," I mean, she was shaking. She was crying. I have a video of afterwards and we all hugged and this is what it's like when you recover.
Right.
Right. And to my long circuitous point, I think if people take a time to find out how somebody's doing before asking them why they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you're going to get there faster. Right. I care
Yeah.
enough to find out about you. You're going to be loyal to me to help because I help try to solve your problem. And it
Yeah.
shouldn't be a decision. It should just be the right thing to do. Not, I'm going to do this because they're going to do that. I'm going to do this because it's the right thing. Hey, I need help. They're clearly struggling. How do I help them?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, give them a path, onboard them right, and care enough to listen.
Yeah. I think that's huge. I think, for me, I was at a conference. Oh man, time bleeds. About a
Yeah.
year and a half ago, and I was there's a bunch of human resources people on a panel, and I heard the question of what's the biggest problem in the hospitality industry, and this one guy was like the little kid who just knew all the answers, and he's got his hand up, and he's like, "Ooh, pick me! Ooh, pick me!" And so finally, the
Are you sure it
moderator
wasn't
goes,
me? I go,
"Nope," and he goes, "I know the answer to this question," and so the moderator points to him, and he goes, "Underdeveloped leaders." And I was like, wow. And at first I was like, I'm not sure if and then I thought about it for a minute and I was like, well, that's just a bigger, like that goes to a bigger thing and it starts where you're at.
yeah.
You know what
Fish
I
stinks
mean?
from the
Like,
head down. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, huh. I mean, that affected me deeply, and it made
Yeah.
me say, that's how I can have some effect and some affect in the hospitality industry as somebody who's no longer in operations and
Yeah.
wants to help. I'm like, I can develop managers, I can help develop leaders, I
Yeah.
can even help folks who aren't accustomed to leadership and leadership like training. I
Yeah.
can get that to them because as I said a little while ago, I speak a different language,
Yeah.
right? And they take it a whole lot differently and a lot of times a whole lot better from me, right? When we break down leadership and we give them all this stuff, what they don't realize is I'm the guy who reads the stuff that the Fortune 500 guys are reading,
Yeah.
and as I've learned recently, people are people, right?
It's the difference between the sergeant and the lieutenant. If you
Totally.
look in the military, they shot a lot of butter by our lieutenants during Vietnam because they're shouting from a playbook. They had no idea how it worked. And they went right to the grizzly old sergeant who didn't rank up anywhere close to that LT, but he was the one they trusted.
Yeah.
He was in the trenches with them. They knew
Yeah.
he'd gone through the dirt.
Yeah.
I got weird analogies. Anyways.
Oh no, I dig it. That's good stuff. I mean, you want to know what the problem is? Go ask the cook.
Yeah.
Why can't you do this? You want to understand why the line blocks up in the fast serve restaurant? Go talk to the
Yeah.
cashier.
Yeah.
Like this system sucks. I can't get from this screen to that screen,
But
you
nobody's owning
know.
it.
No.
Talk to the other guy.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Or I've got this new and I don't like the there's one point where sometimes we get really crazy about tech and we go, "Oh, I can fix it with tech." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, let's figure out what the
Yeah, you got a
real
people
problem
problem
is
right
so we
now.
can
Yeah.
solve the problem and so that we're going from crawling to walking so that the tech is running
Yeah.
and it's running in one direction." That's what I
It's like
want people
having
to
a
do.
baby or getting a dog to keep a relationship together. It ain't the baby or the dog that's your problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Oh,
Awesome. Um, I got a question for you that has been on my mind lately, and
uh-oh.
I feel like I'm obsessing.
Okay.
Um, but that's okay. And it goes like this. Tell me what a win in your day is.
Hmm. Actually, it's funny you say that. So we do a version of what we call EOS or Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is it's simple, right? We at the beginning of the week we say, "What's your win for the week?" We call it out, and at the end of the week we say, "Did you get it?" Right? Because that means if
Yep,
we did that every week, the organization by default is incrementally moving forward, whatever that thing you move
totally.
forward is, right? So, but my win every day is can I provide value to each and every one of my clients and partners in some way, shape, or form every day to each one? That's a win. That's a win,
Nice.
right? Did I move that needle for them? Did I implement that one thing that's going to fractionally move them or incrementally move them forward? Did I introduce them to people they need to? Did I help them in one way or another? Did my team support them in a valuable sense to where we aren't cashing a check that when we cash the check, we have to go, yeah, we don't pay you enough, right? That's what I want them to think, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah,
awesome.
my win every day is did I give my clients a win every day?
Sweet. I love that. Um, it reminds me of of my when we first started EOS in a restaurant company. I was a
Yeah.
7 unit company. It was groundbreaking. It changed the level 10 meeting changed my life. But
I
my
love the level
boss,
10. Yes.
oh
If you do it right.
yeah,
If you do it right.
yeah, you got to do it all. But even if you
Yep.
did 3/4 of that,
You're
you
bad
get
newer.
forward.
Yes. Yeah.
But I remember looking at my boss and feeling like my role was weird and I was overseeing 4 restaurants. And I was like, what the hell is this job? And he looks at me and he goes, oh, fuck, man, it's easy. Just go add value. Oh, okay. It took me 3 years to like fully grow that in my head to where I
Yeah.
knew every piece that I wanted to like add to. But man,
The
it's
very
that,
Zen
right?
statement, like Curly Bill's, was it Curly Bill or Curly? I don't know if the last name was Bill, but Curly from City Slickers. What's that one thing? Right? Add value. What's the one thing? I need to know what the one thing is. Well, it's different for
Yeah.
each of us, but I think adding value is a damn good one.
Well, awesome. We covered some good ground there, Mike.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I honestly I didn't know what I was coming into. I had a lot of fun, in the preamble before we got on. I'm definitely more curious about how we could talk and work together. I love your vibe, you know.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, like I say, culinary mechanic has been something that has been fun for the last year.
yeah.
Um, my favorite question with it is, what the
Hmm.
fuck is a culinary mechanic?
What is that? Do you have a
Yeah,
torque
right.
wrench?
No, I get asked every once in a while. I'm like, do you work on ovens? I'm like, nope.
Well, a mechanic it used to be a term for a hitman. Maybe you're the one that kills all the bad stuff in the restaurant. Right?
Yeah,
Charles Bronson, that was the name of his movie, The Mechanic. It was a hitman.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I
And so
forgot. I forgot that
yes.
he did it first because
Yeah.
Jason Statham did it again,
Yes, he
and it
did.
wasn't nearly as good.
And short.
Um,
Yeah, it was back in my days of CA, I saw him around quite a bit.
oh wow,
Yeah,
awesome. Um, well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us on Culinary Mechanic today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
absolutely.
Um, I will make sure in the show notes that people can find Ink Tank GTM, can
Yep.
find Michael Beck.
Yep. You can
To
find me on
all you out there,
LinkedIn. Yep, LinkedIn, Instagram. You'll find me under Beck's Good Life. LinkedIn, you know where to find me. LinkedIn, and we're going to be at literally every show this year coming up. So if you want to intersect, find us at different events or see what we do, we're happy to talk to you. But LinkedIn's a great place to seek us out first. And please
sweet.
follow us on Ink Tank GTM on LinkedIn, and we got a lot of great content and folks just as awesome as Simon. And hopefully you'll come join us on the show sometime. We have our own pod that we do.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Awesome.
All you out there listening, whether it be Spotify or Apple Podcast, I would really appreciate a 5-star review. Um, Check it out on YouTube because you can see my ugly mug. Because why not? And
I think your
all
pants are
y'all,
on fire, according to the picture there. What's going on with all the smoke?
isn't that great? I just love the smoke in the background, man. My life is spoons, knives, and fire. So you gotta
Love
have
it.
some fire.
Very elemental.
To all y'all out there, I'll catch you on the flip side.